Yo, it's Big Fan Breezy with the Brooklyn Nets vlog. I know I ain't do the stream last night, but I'm right back at it. I gotta have this conversation before I go to the Barclays. This is important. I need Nets fans to be all on one accord. And again, I don't not saying we should be angry if what you don't want to happen. But as a Nets fan, I narrowed it down to Fizz or Ace. Jeremiah Fizz or Ace. What player is more important to the Brooklyn Nets? Is it the floor general and leader in the Jeremiah Fayette, a hungry upstart, very young, you know what I'm saying? And, he could draw double teams, him and Cam Thomas. I like it. It's quote unquote a small backcourt, but I'm willing to see what happens. You know what I'm saying? I would like to see them in the backcourt together. I think that would be dope. Excuse me, but it's like, if you get Jody Fernandez that kind of talent this early in his head coaching career, that's impressive on the Brooklyn Nets side. You feel what I'm saying? Oh, sports. Let me throw the link in the chat for my guy Sports, man. I was trying to get you on last night, but we pulled up late. I went live again, but I was tired, man. Fuck that. I'm back. I'm right back. You know what I'm saying? Facts. Shout out to all of the Brooklyn Nets. Shout out to the Nets fans. Shout out to the Brooklyn Nets fans. Shout out to the Nets fans. We the best fans. We got sports in the chat. Who's more important to the team? Ace Bailey because he's a wing. He said his favorite player like Kevin Durant. Can Ace Bailey be rookie of the year like Kevin Durant? Can he have a career like Kevin Durant? Can he stay with one team as long as Kevin Durant did with the Oklahoma City Thunder? Say what you want. But Kevin Durant stayed there about 2 contracts. You feel what I'm saying? He was there for a hot minute. You know what I'm saying? So he was there for a hot spell. He was there for maybe 8 years. You know what I'm saying? That's a long time. 8 years is a long time. I think that if Ace Bailey wanted to come to the Brooklyn Nets, I like it. And if we get Fizz, I'll be happy. If we get Ace Bailey, I'll be happy. But what's more important to the Brooklyn Nets? Is it a point guard? Look at what's happening with the finals, with the Indiana Pacers and Tyrese Halliburton was their best player, or Siakam, you could argue. But my point is how important the point guard was to the final 2 teams that was in the finals. Shea, very important to the Oklahoma Thunder, and Tyrese Halliburton, very important to get in there. Look at how many game winners. It was from the point guard. It wasn't from the forward. It wasn't from this and that player. It was Tyrese Halliburton, the point guard, showing up. You feel me? It was Shea showing up. Don't start that shit, King. Don't start that shit early in the morning. That's your first comment. If they could be on the same team. Cam Thomas played a good team as a good teammate next to every teammate he had, from Kevin Durant to Ed Sumner. We're not doing that. We're not doing that, King. We got sports. We got sports in the building. Yo, sports, what up, man? Heart of the city.
It's good, Breeze. What's good?
Heart of the city. I'm going to the draft. What's up? You going?
Oh, shit. You at the draft? Nah, I can't make it, man. I'm trying to make it next year, though, for sure.
Yeah, but I'm in there.
That's what's up, man. Get some good footage, man. Get some good coverage, man. Let us know the scoop. What's going on?
Yeah, yo, listen. If you're going live, I'm jumping in your chat. If you're going live, I'm jumping in your chat.
We going live. Going live with my man Cave, the Man Cave podcast, man. We're gonna go live and cover the draft tonight on the Aboriginal Sports Network. The shit we've been building over there. You know what I'm saying? We've been building our network, and definitely, man, we've been covering the NFL draft and the NFL stuff, but I'm definitely getting into basketball heavy right now. So talk to me, bro. What's good, man? How we feeling about this draft coming up, bro?
Man, I think we move up to try to get either one of those 2 players. You know what I'm saying? I think Jeremiah Fizz is really important because, again, I'm trying to say that the most important player in the 2 championship teams in the East and West is the point guard. Shea with OKC and Tyrese Halliburton with the Indiana Pacers. So it's like you want to focus on the point guard. And I've seen success with Jordy Fernandez in point guards. I always say this. I've seen Shake Milton get 12 assists. I've never seen Shake Milton get 12 assists. What is Shake? It's because Jordy Fernandez and how he coaches the game, how he coaches.
Yeah,
But
that system though, bro. That's the system that he runs. I think Ace Bailey or Jeremiah Fears would fit in that system because of how he uses his big men as well. You've seen a lot of more big men handling the basketball at the basically at the high post area. You know what I'm saying? I've seen that a lot with Clax during last year, where he pretty much is looking to get the big man involved to be more of a playmaker / scorer. So I think Ace would fit into that. But I'm with you though, bro. And I've been on this for 2 years. You already know. Last year I was a big fan of Isaiah Collier. He doing pretty good out there, and I think with the Jazz. So yeah, it's fierce.
But
This
what
is
I'm
fierce.
saying, but that's what I'm saying. So again, are we in agreement that the point guard is more important for the Brooklyn Nets than the win? Because that's why we will have to go with. That's why I'm going with Jeremiah Fairs. If as a Nets fan, that's what I'm doing. Because I'm thinking like, I'm not saying Ace Bailey ain't gonna be great. I'm just saying you got one player that been living in Brooklyn for 3 months in a Jeremiah Fairs, and then you got Ace Bailey doing whatever he's doing. And he worked out for the Brooklyn Nets. And he said that he'd be a good fit. You know, he got to speak to the people. We got a feel. We got a chance to get a feel for Jeremiah Fairs. You know what I'm saying? For the Brooklyn, for the Nets. So I favor him more because he did the workout. Because I hear him, he's more vocal. He sounds more confident. He said, what did he say? He said he feel like he coming for everybody in front of him. He think he the best player in the draft. He think he better than Cooper, Flag. He think he better than Ace Bailey. He think he better than Dylan Harper. He think he better all of the. You know what I'm saying? Players that's in front of him. He say he feel like he better than them, bro.
He could think like that, Breeze, but we already know what time it is. You know what I'm saying? Because if it's not Cooper, Flag, or if it's not Dylan Harper, then everybody else is kind of lumped into that, second tier, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Now, Ace, remember, we talked about Ace Bailey possibly being the number 1 or number 2 pick before he went to Rutgers last year and had a little bit of an okay kind of iffy season. But I still think he's that dude, if developed. And I think a guy like Jordy Fernandez will be an excellent coach for him. But I just keep coming back to what you said about the point guard. Look across the bridge, you know what I'm saying, at the Knicks.
Right.
Jalen Brunson. They did not start getting really good until they got Brunson. You know what I'm saying? And then we looking at our squad, and Cam Thomas is a shooting guard. We're not going to turn him into a point guard. He's a shooting guard. Yes, he's undersized. I hear you in the chat. But again, he's a shooting guard, So if you get a point guard to pair next to him and take the ball out of his hands, he can do what he does best and focus on scoring the basketball and not having to be a point guard where you got to bring the ball up, set the offense, and do all this and do all that. He could focus on what he does best, which is scoring. So again, if you can bring in a true point guard that can run your offense and set up guys, some of these wings that you brought in here, we still got wings on our team. We still got what's my man? We drafted a couple as a Whitehead. We still got Clowney. Like we still got some of these guys on our team, and it's like, all right, are we going to keep drafting big men, or are we going to get some guard play to come in here and actually, open up this offense, which is what I think Jordy Fernandez wants.
Yeah, again, I totally agree. I concur, but I say in my own, in other words, in my own words, I feel like the point guard is essential because they're gonna be able to, be in one-on-one situations, and that's how defenses would pretty much guard Cam Thomas, where they would double him above the 3-point line. You get point guard in Feds who want the ball in his hand. And again, as a Cam Thomas fan, I think he plays great off ball. You put
Yes.
Cam Thomas in a situation where he running around picks and screens, kind of like maybe a Steph Curry, and he trying to free himself up for the shot. His catch and shoot is so damaging to the defenses that if they don't respect his pump fake, they might get benched. Cam Thomas, he could get that catch and shoot and knock it down. He could pump fake, put it on the floor, and get to the rim. Like this is why he's my favorite player, because even if he don't get to the rim, he could pull up for the midi. Somebody like Jeremiah Fairs, based on what I see, he gonna get 2 feet in the paint. He gonna get to the paint. He's like a hood TJ McConnell. I'm joking, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I think he's a little more explosive than TJ McConnell at the basket.
Oh yeah.
But at the, you know what I mean, at the rim. But I don't know if, you know what I'm saying, what he brings to the Brooklyn Nets, I should be like, how you say, subtle to it. Like, I really think we should put heavy emphasis on what he can bring to the Brooklyn Nets, because if we move up, it's either him or, to me, it's either him or Ace Bailey. You know what I'm saying? I think it's either one of the two. But in all fairness, I want to give argument to Ace Bailey. Picking Ace Bailey over Jeremiah Fairs, that's a different conversation. You know what I'm saying? You want to speak to that, or do you just one sided with it?
No, I do, because Ace Bailey is definitely a good player. But remember, I was the one. I'm just going back to conversations we had last year and earlier this year, where I kept telling people I'm for Dylan Harper over Ace Bailey. I was there from the jump. Now everybody else getting on board now. Oh, Dylan Harper, number 2 pick automatically. Okay, we already been there, Breeze. Already been there with Dylan Harper over Ace Bailey. Now you bringing in, because we don't, San Antonio's going to draft Dylan Harper from all reports. So we have to choose between one of these 2 players if we can get a trade up. Now, with Ace, to me, I feel like you gotta, if you take him, you still gonna need a point guard. You know what I'm saying? You still gonna need a point guard because you don't have one. So to me, if you want Jordy Fernandez to do what he does and develop this offense, he needs a tone setter, bro. That's what we're looking for, a tone setter, like what Halliburton does for the Pacers, and what Brunson does for the Knicks. You can go to SGA, sets the tone. You know what I'm saying, for your team, whether they're scoring or playmaking. You need a tone setter. I think Jeremiah Fairs, now he's not the most outstanding shooter. Only shot 3% last year, 28 from 3. So he still needs to work on his shot, but he can get in the paint and play make for you. Like you just said, very good at getting to the rim, and if he can open up his court vision, he'll be a very good playmaker, because the Nets, guess what the Nets do well? They shoot the 3. So what you got to understand, if you got a guy that can get to the rim like that and create for Cam Thomas, for Cam Johnson, if he's still here, then you start to get, okay, now we can get more points and really start to push, the tempo. The problem with the Nets, though, we need to figure out, a better defensive strategy, I feel like. Now I don't necessarily know what, like I haven't done a deep dive on Jeremiah Fairs. I probably will do that if and when he gets selected by the Nets. But I want to check out his defense, because the problem with having Cam Thomas on the court, I know that's your man's, but it's a defensive liability. So you can't have a backcourt with 2 defensive liabilities. So I need to figure out if Jeremiah Fears is that dude on defense. Now, he averaged 1.6 steals last year. I'm just looking at his stats briefly. And I watched a little bit of his tape, but it was mostly on the offensive end. So, but I want to see how he performs on defense, because to me, if you pair a backcourt mate with Cam Thomas, that guard has to be able to play defense, because you're not going to necessarily get that from Cam Thomas. And they're both 6'4", so but it don't really matter in today's NBA with the size. I hear what you guys are saying, but we got Jalen Brunsons and cats like that, 6'1", lighting it up, still able to be key contributors. But what we don't want is two people in the backcourt that can't play defense. Because over there with the Knicks, they got Hart and Bridges to play defense off of. You know what I mean?
Yeah, to be honest, my thing is watching OKC and them being the number one team in defense. Their defense wasn't predicated on one-on-one defense. Nah. So if Jordy Fernandez and you know what I'm saying, they know what they're doing. They're not going to put Fitz or Cam Thomas on one-on-one situations. You rotate. At most, we make sure they worst percentage shooter on the floor at the time is taking the shot that we want. So I think it's about motion. I think it's about busy hands in the passing lanes. I don't think it's about it's just them just taking total advantage of Fizz and Cam Thomas, especially you know what I'm saying, how he makes the rest of the roster. What does it look like? And what do we do? You know what I'm saying? Do we start defense? Because my thing is this: you to cover for them not being, you know what I mean, for them being a small backcourt, is to start defense above the 3-point line. Don't wait for them to get to the 3-point line to start defense. You know what I'm saying? Play defense above the 3-point line. Watch for the back cut and whatnot. But you know how the game go. They got to space the floor. Get a zone. You know what I'm saying? Get a zone where we playing above the 3-point line. If you get Fizz and Cam Thomas having busy hands in passing lanes, you're not asking them to be lockdown defenders, of course. But you, at the same time, you know what I'm saying? You want them to play high IQ basketball. You want them to, study the game. You want them to look at the scouting report before the game starts. If you know this player is right-handed, make them go left. You know what I'm saying? Simple shit.
Here's the thing, though, Breeze. They gotta have length. You know what I'm saying? Those players. That's what makes OKC so dangerous. They're long poles and tall. So they have the ability to get in those passing lanes. And they've developed great anticipation. So to me, my thing is, you want to have somebody a little more athletic and a little taller and a little able to, switch. If on the pick and roll, you got to be able to switch off of that. So if you switch and you have a mismatch, okay, now you can get that help defense from your longer, taller defender. But if you switch and you just got two smaller guys or two, undersized guards, then, you're going to be able to take advantage of either one. Now, I do see what you're saying, because we played basketball. Me and you did. Defense is about effort. So I feel like if you dial the effort up a little more, you can be a better defensive team. But in those crucial situations where they are playing one-on-one, or they are ISO ball, you're going to get cooked. You're going to get cooked. You know what I'm saying? Just because you have that small of a backcourt. That is my only concern now that I'm thinking about it with Fears. Now, I want to ask you this, though, about Ace Bailey. There's some rumors about, them moving off a couple players on the Nets. And I specifically want to talk about Nick Claxton. Do you feel like Nick Claxton should be included in a trade if they were to trade up to, say, 3 or 4 to get Ace Bailey?
Yeah, I mean, you do it for Ace Bailey for sure because you get inside the 3 point line scoring from Ace Bailey, and you know what I'm saying. You watch Nick Claxton develop into sixth season, and it's hard to say without a PNR that you're going to get offense from Claxton under the 3 point line. You know what I'm saying? Or
And I
inside the 3 point line, better said.
and I see somebody in the chat talking about Maluk, the guy from Duke, the
Matter
center.
what, that's Corey Smith.
Now, here's the thing: the Nets, as it is, already have two one-sided players. This league, you need two-way players, bro. So
Mm-hmm.
we got a Nick Claxton, who's pretty much a defensive guy. You got Cam Thomas, who's pretty much an offensive guy. Like, we can't keep drafting one-sided players. You need players who can play on both ends. Now, Maluk, yeah, can he develop into a scorer? Yeah, maybe so. Pretty good, pretty cool. Claxton hasn't done that yet. And everybody been talking about Nick Claxton's perimeter shooting. It's just not there yet. So why are we going to bring in another defensive center when you already have one on the roster? You got Day'Ron Sharp, who's kind of been pushed down the depth chart, so to speak, who I personally think can be a good player, but you still got him too, who's a rebounder, defensive type of guy. So, like, how many of these guys are we going to have on the roster? You need more scoring and you need better backcourt play, in my opinion. Because I think we got the centers that can so-called rim protect. That's Nick Claxton. Nick Claxton averaged, over 2 blocks a game. He was in a running for Defensive Player of the Year a couple years ago. So let's not act like this guy can't play defense. But you need more offense in your front court, and you need more defense in your backcourt. Because we got it's too one-sided. You see what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think we could get a big later in the draft. I ain't tripping on none of that. I think Sean Moss would take a lot of those second-round picks that we got and trade Clax, trade Cam Johnson, trade some of these players that, you know what I'm saying, I don't necessarily know where. Clax the LA Lakers and again, we facilitated one 3-team trade yesterday. I think we could do another one. I said 3. But I think there's one more left. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. We got one more 3-team trade left, at least one more. You know what I'm saying? I think it's one more. You know what I mean? I don't have no sources or nothing like that. But I as a Nets fan, it makes sense. All of these draft picks. Again, Terrence, man, he from Brooklyn, even though he wasn't Braves head. You know what I'm saying? You got a player that you could get with that contract, and then, you know what I mean? We're not trying to win a championship this year. If the Nets do some shit like that, that would be wild. But I don't think that's what we in the driver's seat for. We in the driver's seat with 5 first-round picks. Some team is interested in utilizing these picks for something, for whatever they interest are. We have the perfect opportunity to be the cotton doing it. But
we got 5 first-round picks, bro. 5 first-round picks. So, and I was listening to y'all last night. Good conversation, excellent podcast, man. I'm always listening, even though I can't chat sometimes. No doubt. The thing that we got to understand is the Nets need to come out of this draft, I feel like, with at least 2 impact players. You have 5 draft picks, okay? You got 5 draft picks. You need at least one high-level player. That's probably Ace or Jeremiah Fears if they can get into that, upper half of the lottery. And then with the rest of those picks, you need a solid 2-way player, bro. If it's a wing, if it's a center, cool. You need a 2-way player because the Nets have to get better defensively, and they have to get better in the front court you know, with your big men offensively. So if you can get somebody like a big man that can give you a little bit on defense and you know stretch the floor a little bit, cool. And if you can get somebody in the backcourt that can at least contain, you know, position on defense, that will be helpful too. So the number one thing, get an impact player. Because what are the Nets missing? What are they
Yeah.
missing? High level impact player. And Cam Thomas, look, great player, more of an offensive guard though. We need a high impact overall player, bro. Like Kevin Durant was supposed to be that, but it ain't work out. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So we don't need a Kevin Durant, but if you got an Ace Bailey or a Dylan Harper type of player or a Cooper Flag type of player, that will be it. But
Mm-hmm.
Jeremiah Fears, we'll see. We'll see about Edgecombe and some of these other players, but I was more or less looking kind of like the rest of the NBA is looking as like it's pretty much 3 impact players in this draft. That's Ace, Cooper, and Dylan Harper. The rest of them is kind of wait and see. You know, depending
I
on the
don't know.
situation they go to, they might be good, they might be not good. But
I don't know if I
I
don't
think it's
know.
3 sure bets.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with that, man. I got confidence in Jeremiah Fizz. I think that
You think he's a
he,
sure bet?
I think that the upside is more the down, bigger than the downside. You know what I'm saying? It's not like 60-40, it's like 80-20. I don't think the defense is going to be that much of an issue because of Jody Fernandez and the coaching staff. I think Cam Thomas and Jeremiah Fizz scoring prowess is going to be part of their defense. If they could keep the defense on their heels where they gotta keep scoring points because they putting up so many points and they, basically, they shooting at a high efficiency, got a, 4 for 5, 80%, 70 or over above 50%. If they can apply pressure like that, that's part of defense because now you forcing, not forcing, but yeah, you kind of pushing them to maybe take a 3-pointer instead of a 2-pointer. So you get them uncomfortable with just 2-pointers because they trying to catch up to us, trying to get the lead. I think we jump out, and I think the first quarter is where Jeremiah Fizz and Cam Thomas would take the most advantage. The first quarter is very important in basketball. Jeremiah Fizz and Cam Thomas scoring prowess will outscore a lot of teams. They just would. Even Cam Thomas and Ace Bailey, you put Ace Bailey in a situation where he want to be a superstar, and you doubling Cam Thomas, and now Ace Bailey got one-on-ones as a rookie. We're gonna be successful, bro. I'm telling you. I'm just looking at the game for what it is, bro. And these players thrive right now in the way today's basketball. They get their name off of ISO situations, one-on-one situations. You know what I'm saying? And I think Cam Thomas and Jeremiah Fizz would be 2 of the best players in the NBA when it comes down. You look at the stat of ISO players, and again, I'm saying that to say, once teams know that, that means that both of the players in your backcourt can draw a double team. That's tough. You know what I'm saying? That's tough. So we're gonna see.
It's but we playing both sides of the court though, bro. So like to me, when you get in trouble, look at Indiana, like the Pacers. Like with some of these teams get in trouble is on the defensive end because you gotta have that rim protector for sure. I think we got that in Claxton. You want Claxton to be a little more offensive, but again, he's not. He's a good player. I would hold on to him, especially if they don't take a big man in this draft. But we need to get stronger defensively on the wing, bro, because you can't have. I didn't watch so many Nets games, bro, where dudes is just butt naked at the 3-point line, just pulling up. And you need to have somebody or, like somebody that can really set the tone on defense. Like you got some of these players that come in and they set the tone defensively, whether it's off the bench or as a starter. the Nets don't necessarily have that player. It should be Nick Claxton, but Clax is limited because he doesn't do much on offense. So people don't. He's not that much of an impact player like a Giannis or a Jokic or somebody like that would be. That's can give you that you got to focus on both sides of the court. That's my thing. We need more two-way players.
Right.
Bro, that's not, bro. Even look at the finals team in the Thunder and you know what I'm saying, the Pacers.
Yeah.
It ain't a lot. It's not a lot of two-way players on Indiana. It's not. But say what you want about Miles Turner, he ain't no two-way player, bro. He not.
Indiana has guys like
Siakam. Is Halliburton a two-way player?
They're a scoring team, but they're not. They have a team mindset and they're veterans. So it's
but that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't like the knock on Jeremiah Fitz and Cam Thomas not being two-way players. Yeah, it'd be nice if they two-way players, but the truth is, even when you look at championship teams, all of them ain't two-way players. Like, even the good players, you know what I'm saying?
The thing is, bro, that you're missing is that Jeremiah Fears is what 6'4". How tall is Cam Thomas? What 6'3"?
Yeah.
So you're not going to get by with a 6'6" guard or what's Halliburton 6'5", 6'6". Like these guys are tall and long. Pause. They affect the game differently, man. Because their range.
If you're saying it like that, then we could get a bigger guard later in the draft and get Ace Belly. If it's that much of an issue, because at the end of the day, again, I don't know what the Brooklyn Nets is going to do, but it's hard to think. It's that they're going to just keep all these draft picks and just draft 8 and 22 and 26 to like me. I don't think they're doing all of that.
No, they're not going to do that. Listen, it's good to be here, guys. Listen, I think Jeremiah Fears, he checks so many boxes for the Brooklyn Nets. We saw a little clip yesterday. He said, "I want to be the best in this draft." This guy believes in himself. I mean, you've seen what he's done the last 3 months living in New York. He's gotten stronger. He looks stronger than he did in college a few months ago. Like, this guy is committed to potentially being a Brooklyn Net, and we need that type of guy that's putting in the work. I think Ace Bailey, it's a good hypothetical thing to think about, but I heard just today the Hornets are likely not trading number 4. They're likely choosing between Edgecombe, Knipple, and maybe Jeremiah Fears, but I don't think Fears fits what they're looking for. So if you're the Brooklyn Nets and maybe you want to move up a slot with the Pelicans to secure Jeremiah Fears, you can do that. So I think for the Brooklyn Nets, if you get Jeremiah Fears with your lottery pick, I understand worries about the defense with him and Thomas potentially. But to your point of popular opinion sports, this is why you need to get a center in this draft. Nick Claxton ain't cutting the mustard anymore for the Brooklyn Nets. And I'm hearing the Suns might want to trade Grayson Allen and some draft capital for Nick Claxton potentially. If you have a chance to move off of Claxton in this draft and draft a big later in the draft, whether that's a Maxine Reynard, a 7-footer, or a Danny Wolf, a 7-footer who could be a center, you have options to get a big in this draft. So for me, if I'm a GM going into the Brooklyn Nets organization tonight, I want to get that point guard and center.
John, let's slow it down just to kind of piece it together. If we were to get a big in the draft, the ones you mentioned, Max, and the other one, do you think, what is that? What pick are we using to get that player?
I think it could be the Bucks pick at 19 or maybe that 22 pick. But like Iceman said yesterday.
So, all right, so say we take all the 20s pick, trade those. You feel me? Mm-hmm. Trade, keep the 8 and 19 and package that to move up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. There's gotta be a way we could move up, bro. I don't think it's a far fetch. It's not far.
I think it is, and you really got to look at the Spurs tonight. Nobody knows what the Spurs are going to do. I'm hearing a lot of crazy stuff that the Celtics might consider trading Jaylen Brown tonight, and I'm looking at a team like the Spurs. They have every asset they wanted to get a guy like Jaylen Brown, but at the same time, they might want to make a smaller move like getting a Cam Johnson. If we could package up Cam Johnson in those late 20s like you just talked about to get the 14th pick, we could have 8, 14, and 19, which I think is great. You could get 3 solid prospects with those selections. So for me tonight, you got to try to move up in this draft. If Sean Marks doesn't move up in this draft, that tells me he didn't do everything in his power to move up in this draft because you had the power to do so. So if you can do that tonight and still have 8, 14, and 19, you could get some solid picks there. And if you could come away with a point guard, a center, and a power forward, you basically address three huge needs. You're basically getting ahead of the ball before next year's draft. So I'm hoping Sean Marks and his team are thinking about those things because you need those assets. You don't want to get redundant and get pieces that aren't going to be long-term fits. So if they move up tonight, which they should, it's going to be a good night for the Brooklyn Nets because you have the power to do so. You can't draft all 6 rookies. Yeah, OKC did it a few years ago, but the talent is what separates people from doing that type of experimentation. Like you said, Breezy, you don't just want randos. You want guys that you know in the next 3 to 4 years can be established talents.
Yeah, nah, facts.
You're
Shout
not
to the
gonna get
Rule
it in
FM. He said Bleacher Report just dropped news on 76ers Nets getting point PG.
What?
We getting Paul George?
I think that's a prediction. I don't think that's a full-on that just happened. There's no breaking news on my TV right now. They're just prediction. I don't see the Nets doing it. Listen, at the end of the day, I don't blame Brooklyn if you don't want Paul George's contract. His contract is disgusting, and he bashed Ace Bailey. I know you saw Breezy when I posted up. He said, "Yo, Ace don't know what he's doing. You can't be burning bridges like that." And if I'm Ace Bailey and his representation, I don't blame him for not wanting to go to Philly. You're not going to get the playing time, and you're going to have to play on a team where financially you're committed to 2 guys with injury-prone issues in their mid-30s. So I don't blame Brooklyn if they don't want to get Paul George's contract. And it looks like Philly's going to draft Edgecombe at this point.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to get to the title. That's all. Who you got? Jeremiah Fears or Ace Bailey? Who more important to the Brooklyn Nets?
I feel it's Jeremiah Fears because he worked out for the Nets. He's been in New York for a few months. He looks stronger. Like he said yesterday, I want to be the best in this draft. I'm ready for that smoke. And I think Ace Bailey, he wants to play.
That's the player that should be in Brooklyn, right? He sound like he been in Brooklyn for 3 months, right?
Yeah, it definitely does. I mean, he looks hungry and he looks like he's ready for his name to be called by Brooklyn. And I know everybody wants to go with the best talent possible, but Fears looks like he wants to get better in every asset of his game. And he said, I could bring winning to a team. I could bring culture. I could bring all the intangibles you want. And if you're Sean Marks, you got to be excited at that prospect because, yeah, getting Ace would be exciting, but who is connected more right now to Brooklyn's identity and what they're trying to build? It looks like Jeremiah Fears, and I feel like he just represents Brooklyn. I can't explain it to you, but he really is that Brooklyn Nets story. Came out of nowhere, just like the Nets a few years ago. Nobody was expecting the Harrises, the Dinwiddies to play as well as they did to get a playoff spot, and this guy is following that story in his own way. So I'd be excited if it's Jeremiah Fears. I don't think people should be worried about the defensive with him and Thomas, because if you can get a center in this draft or a solid wing like that, like he was just talking about, you can protect that backcourt a little bit. So if I'm Sean Marks and Fears my lottery pick, my next goals are how can I protect that backcourt, get it big and a power forward.
Yeah, no, facts. How you feel about that, Sports?
I mean, yeah, he I agree. I'm for the point guard. You know that. I was just given some analysis on, possibly getting Ace Bailey, but if you can get Fears, you have to acquire somebody that can play defense on the wing, because every team got one, man. They got multiples. We don't really have nobody that's really that good on defense on the wing, because you got to understand, basketball is a two-way game. It's not like football where you can only play defense and you come off the field when the offense get on there. You got to play both ends of the court, and that's where a lot of some of these players been getting by, because the game hasn't been that physical. Well, the NBA playoffs this year shows you that it can get physical, and if you're not like that, if you ain't got that kind of toughness to really hold up defensively, you're gonna get exposed. And to your point, yeah, the Pacers got to the finals. There's some questions about that, but again, they got exposed because at the end of the day, you can't keep up with a team that can play on both ends of the basketball court. That's where the game has changed, bro. You remember, there was players that played both ends of the court. Jordan, Kobe, they was all defensive players, bro. all defensive type of players and some of the best scorers in the game. You know what I mean? Look at all those big men back in the day, Olajuwon, Ewan, da-da-da. They played defense, blocked shots, rebound, and scored. You know, you got guys like Carl Anthony Towns, who got one freaking rebound in a playoff series, a playoff game, whatever. So, like, bro, this is what I'm talking about. You got to play on both ends of the basketball court. Right. And to me, we got too many one-sided players. That's just it. So we need more two-way players, but I agree. If you can get Jeremiah Fears, do you look to move Cam Thomas?
No, hell no. My thing is this: when you think of the
think about it, though.
I am thinking about it. I'm telling you, no. Let me tell you why. I already thought of this, and I already got 22 rebuttals for it. Now, what I'm trying to say is, when it comes to the championship team, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jalen Williams, both shot creators, and both pretty much coming from the backcourt. You need two shot creators that can play from the perimeter to the rim. You got that with Jeremiah Fears and Cam Thomas. This is a template that I'm talking about from a championship team. And it's not only them. You got Curry, you got Clay, right? You got situations where the number one, the point guard, and the two guards, the most important players on the team. Championship teams. Not all championship teams, but the last one. Now I'm saying that to say we could use that template and to try it out. I'm shy to what y'all talking about sports because I want to try it out. Give it a whole season. Don't watch 20 games and say, oh, trade Cam Thomas. Blasphemy. What I'm saying is give them a whole season. Give them a whole season. Revisit that conversation. I've seen Cam Thomas next to Dennis Schroeder, Ed Sumner, DDJ. Anybody in the backcourt, he got busy with him. Ben Simmons. But they made it seem like Ben Simmons was helping Cam Thomas. No, Cam Thomas was helping Ben Simmons. So I'm shy to this, oh, let's trade Cam Thomas. Let's slow it down. Let's slow it down. Hold it down, slow it down, hold it down. There's no way we should trade Cam Thomas. We watch them together and see how good they are in this one season. After that, then you know what I mean? I'm a Nets fan before I'm a player fan. We can revisit this conversation. But to not give them an opportunity based on narratives from content creators and big media, no. Let them practice together. See them you can't see them in the summer league together. See them in the preseason together. And then revisit this conversation. I'm telling you, all right, you're gonna see, man.
Yo, I just want to say I appreciate Breeze for saying that because he has really been a Cam Thomas diehard fan for so long. But for him to be like, you know what? Let's see what him and Fierce do. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, we'll cross the bridge when we get to it. And if you're Sean Marks, the contract negotiations are right now till the 30th of June between him and Cam Thomas. And you're hoping by this weekend there is a sight of a contract being done because you want Cam under a contract. I don't think he's going to get the $100 million. I'm fine with a 3-year, $75 million, $25 million salary, and option in the third year. Let him do these next 2 years, which are key in the draft, develop alongside this team and be more consistent. For Cam Thomas, the only thing stopping him is durability and consistency. He improved on the playmaking aspect, but defensively and rebounding wise, he could be a lot more consistent on that front. But we got to give him the chance to see if he can do it. So if you re-sign Thomas this summer, which they likely will, you got to see what he does the next 2 years. And if he works out with the team, he's maybe a foundational piece. If not, at least you got him under a market value contract and you can figure out his future a lot easier. So I think if they figure that out this weekend, good on that. But to unpopular opinion, your opinion about two-way players, this is where Noah Senge could really be an enticing prospect for the Nets. They already told him he could be a good fit. I think he's a very raw player, but he's already shown in his little bit of EuroLeague he can be a double-double machine. So if we don't get a Fears or Ace tonight, don't be surprised if Noah Senge gets picked with that 8th pick because, like you said, two-way skill set is a commodity in the NBA right now. You need that if you're going to be a solid team to play both sides of the basketball. So if we don't get a Fears or Ace, I'm looking at Noah Senge. And I know Claude Smith's been very high on him, Common Mallywalk, as potential plan Bs if you don't get your plan A in Fears or Ace.
So
Yeah,
here's what I will say though, real quick. The reason what I said about Cam Thomas is you got to understand if you're gonna play him and Fears together as starters, I'm telling you, that's not going to work. Now, if you want to bring one of them off the bench and kind of play him in a rotation, and then you draft a real true solid wing defender who can play the two and maybe play the one on occasion, then yeah, I think you can cook with those two. But if you plan on pairing both of them as your starting guards in this league, I don't think that's gonna work, bro. To be honest, I would either bring one of them off the bench as a 6-man and then draft have another starting type of two-way wing player, or
I don't know, man. Be specific because we got Terrence Mann, and he's a two-way player, kinda, sorta, but he's more of a defensive player than an offensive player. He's not the equal. What they say, evenly yoked. He's not that. You know what I'm saying? So again, it's hard to find these two-way players. Y'all throw the term out so loosely as if it's just
picks, though,
easy
bro.
to
That's
get,
what we're
bro.
talking about. You got
who? You feel what I'm saying? My thing is the whole thing about defense. Listen, the number one defense in the West in the NBA got to the finals, right? So defense is important, and you got to prioritize it. And you do get the defense from Jalen Williams and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. That is fair to say, right? You get defense from the backcourt, right? So I get what you're saying. You make a valid point.
Brown and Tatum. Nick's got Bridges and OG. I mean, like, you go around the league, bro. They got these type of players. Who we got?
Bro, who we got? We got Cam Thomas, and we got Zion Williams. Listen, I think Zion Williams, and again, this is what I'm saying. These opportunities for them to be the best on both sides of the ball, they're going to get it with the Brooklyn Nets. Whoever we draft, they're going to have nothing but opportunities that rookie season to capitalize off of minutes and shot attempts, and especially if you're playing the defensive side of the ball, because you already see how Jordy Fernandez give it up. You know what I'm saying? You see how he is. He'll sit you if you don't play defense. So I imagine he'll reward you if you do play defense. You feel what I'm saying? It's like that. Now I'm saying that all to say that 3 players, bro. Like, yeah, we could. It's nice to talk about all of these different players, but three, maybe 4 players, bro. Like, and my thing is, I'm not trying to take 3, 4 players because the players, like right now, we got 1 lottery pick and the other 4, and this is taking the glitz and glamour off of it's 5 picks. We got 1 lottery pick and 4, you know what I'm saying, not lottery picks. And it's not like we had 5 lottery picks. Then I think we cooking with grease. We need to package all of these 20s, and try to get another lottery pick, bro. Even that 19th pick, I would package that to move up some type of way, bro. Get 8 and something else. Like, seriously.
Hey, John, I got
yeah.
Hey, John.
Yeah, CJ?
Yeah, what do you think about Noah and Danny Wolf playing together? I don't like that backcourt. Somebody said that yesterday. I don't like that backcourt.
I don't know if that would be necessarily the backcourt, but speaking about Danny Wolf is not a center. He's a forward, so you have to convert him. And I think that's why Ice made so many valid points, why Maxime Reynard would be a better fit, because he's an actual center. He can actually rebound, do all these little things you need to do to play winning basketball. Now with Noah Senge, to unpopular opinion sports, again, you need 2-way players to build a solid team. And Noah Senge's skill set is raw, but if he can bulk up, get stronger, more consistent, this guy could be a real threat on offense and defense for the Brooklyn Nets. And I think for the Brooklyn Nets, if you try to trade up for a second lottery pick, I'm hearing Raptors their 9th pick, I'm hearing Suns their 10th pick, you could potentially come away with a Jeremiah Fears and a Noah Senge if you get 2 picks like very close like that. So I think Senge would be a good fit for us. And I would say as well, if we trade up for the Spurs 14 pick, Rasheed Fleming, that guy has almost a 7'9" wingspan. The dude is jacked up already. Like, he can shoot over 30% from 3. Like, that's a guy that makes you really strong at the wing position. So if we could come away with an Asenge or a Sheer Fleming in that early middle part of the draft, that's a solid pickup for the Brooklyn Nets. You want to get stronger at your wing position in this draft. I'm not crazy about the wing position right now because I think center and point guard are real necessities for the Brooklyn Nets in this draft.
Foundational pieces.
Yeah.
That's what they are. Your center and your point guard is foundational pieces to your basketball team. You know what I mean? And that's why we're talking about the center and the point guard so much. But I'm with you though, John, because if you can get somebody that can play that two-way wing, you know what I'm saying, that's real solid, they coming out the woodworks with these players right now. You know what I'm saying? If the Nets can get their hands on one, then Cam Thomas, his scoring ability is that much more valuable because you can hide him better on defense. That's what we're talking about. You got him and Fears back there and Cam Johnson and whoever else, you're going to get cooked. That's what I'm trying to tell you on defense. It don't matter how many points you can score. You got to stop the other team too. That's what we're talking about.
That's very valid.
I just don't want to trade him right now. That's the thing what Shea doing. I ain't gonna trade Cam Thomas right now.
That ain't happening. Listen,
you ain't gotta trade him. You know what I'm saying? I just threw that out there and just to make people think about what you're building. If you were to plan on putting him and Jeremiah Fears as your start backcourt, that's all I was throwing out there. Now if they doing something different, like going out and getting, one of these wings in the draft or making a trade or even, bringing one of them off the bench. Maybe you bring Fears off the bench. I don't know. But again, I don't think you can play them together as a starting backcourt in today's NBA and think you're going to be able to stop teams.
Right. And I would tell you this, long term, I don't think that combination will be together for like 3 to 4 years unless they both really establish themselves these next 2 years during these two important drafts. I think after that, you really have to say, okay, in these last 2 years, 25, 26, did this backcourt really function well together? Did they try to improve on defense? I think Fears, he looks a lot stronger than he did. I've heard if he gives you defensive effort, it can help muster up, he'll cover a bit, the flaws that would be with that backcourt. But I think after 2 years, Sean Marks will probably know, okay, this is a good backcourt or I got to make a bigger move. I think the good thing about next year is it won't just be Cam Thomas being the only main scorer you got. I think Fears, he can definitely score. I know he only dropped 29% in college, but the guy was really good as far as being impactful goes. And I think his game will translate alongside Thomas because how are you going to guard both those guys? I think it's going to be tough because they're going to be able to find each other in the corners. And we're talking about roles here. Cam is the 2. Fears is the 1. Let's see how they do at their roles and see what chemistry they can create. If they're both just scoring by themselves, not actually functioning together, to your point on popular sports, you got to address that eventually. But if they do get Fears and you can bulk up at the wing and the center, you will be able to cover up some flaws for at least, now, I don't know if next year it's going to take time to develop the chemistry, but if they develop that chemistry, then I think 2026 you'll see a lot better results from these two if you do get a better wing and a center in this draft. But I definitely want to see how it functions first before we make those judgments. And Fears should be starting. I think he's going to earn it this summer because Jordan wants everybody to earn everything. I would not have Fears come off the bench. I would give him the starting job and let it be his to lose at that point. Put him in the deep fire.
And get rid of D'Lo, by the way.
Oh, he might go to the Dallas Mavs. I hope D'Lo goes anywhere this summer.
I think he's on the block, trading block for sure, man. But to Tony's point, man, Curry and Thomas, you got to understand. First of all, you can't really compare Cam Thomas to Steph Curry, with all due respect. And second of all, you got to understand, Klay Thompson is what, 6'5", 6'6", and he can play defense and shoot. He's a two-way player. In his prime, right now, no, but in his prime, he was. So that's the difference. But go ahead.
Nah, but we definitely want to see how that backcourt function. But if we don't get Fears tonight, I think Asenge definitely be a good start at your wing position. And as far as center goes, we talk about Danny Wolf. We talk about Maxime Renard. There's some other guys, Hanson Yang, Joan Berger. He's somebody that's rising up in the draft. Like, there are definitely a lot of bigs the Nets could get with some of their later picks, unless they make a big move to trade up. And then you still have that Bucks 19 pick. You definitely, I think, would try to get a center at that point. And I'm looking at a guy, Thomas Sorber. I don't know where he's going to fall right now. I know people are worried about the injury with the leg thing, but this guy has almost like a Bam Adebayo type game. He has a midi. He can rebound. I think he could be a combo big at the 4 or the 5, depending on matchups. So I think he could potentially be a potential option for us as well, because I think his game could translate as well. So it'll be very interesting to see what type of big the Nets get tonight. I hope they do get a big. I think if Sean Marks doesn't get a center in this draft, I would call that a little bit of a failure, because you got to think about getting somebody new. Claxton's just not cutting it for us right now. And I think you got to try to trade him this summer.
John, they draft a bit. I'm telling you right now, it's gonna be Danny Wolf. I heard he worked out with Brooklyn.
I heard that too. He said it worked out really well. He said, I feel like this team's trying to build an identity, and I like that. So he could be an option. The only thing is, can you convert him from a forward to center? That's good to take a
But
big
you can
move.
run the offense through him, right?
Yeah, I hear offensively he's really good. I think it's everything else, speed, defense, and all those other things that people have a little bit of pause for concern. But at the end of the day, if Jordy can turn these guys into really solid pieces, you got to see the development first. We'll be very interested to see if we do draft a Danny Wolf. I heard he could go as high as 17 right now after discussing with some people yesterday. So it'll be very interesting to see if we do draft there.
I think we're saying the same thing, Tony. It is about how you build the team. That's why we were saying, if you're gonna bring in Thomas, and I mean, if you're gonna draft Jeremiah Fears and play him alongside Cam Thomas, you gotta draft another strong two-way player to pair with those guys, because you can't have two, or at least a defensive liability like that. And because you got to think how NBA teams are kind of structured. Most teams you're gonna have one dude that don't really score on the court, so you can kind of have your your lesser defender kind of play that shadow a little bit. But what you can't have is 2 or 3 of those dudes on the court at the same time. And that's why you got to have, somebody that you can play in rotation with those guys.
Right.
It is about how you build the team. And right now, if we had a stronger front court where we had a guy that was more of a scorer than Nick Claxton, then you would be building more of an offensive team, like what the Pacers do. Because Miles Turner don't play no damn defense. Siakam ain't all that good either. He's okay. But they all can score. You see, we don't have that. We got a guy in the front court that can't really score like that, and a guy in the back court that don't really play defense. So the team is a mismatched team right now. We'll see what direction they go in, but I'm in the direction of building a team of two-way players. That's what you got in the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Right.
Well, I wonder, like, it's easy to say that, but who? You feel what I mean? Like, for instance, the name I press because that's tangible, and then I like to see how realistic the trade could be facilitated. Because again, my thing is, I don't think the defense is that much of a negative that we can't win with Cam Thomas. I don't. The whole two-way player, I don't argue with. I'm not arguing, but we can have a two-way player at other positions. Why it has to be the backcourt? You know what I'm saying? Why it can't be the small forward? Why it can't be the power forward or the center? You know what I'm saying? You could get a two-way player, not only in the backcourt, but the front court too.
That's true. That's what we talk about. Because Nick Claxton ain't a two-way player either.
Nope.
So, like, I that's what I'm saying. Like, he's an issue too. I'm not just piling on Cam Thomas. You know what I'm saying? Like, Claxton, he hasn't developed, bro. His offensive game has not developed. And he got a big contract too.
Right.
Cam Thomas hasn't even got paid yet.
That's a good point, Sports. Like, who developed more being on the Brooklyn Nets? I think Cam Thomas developed since a rookie. I see him develop.
I'm not saying.
No, I'm just saying. In contrast to who's getting better year to year. And it's not specifically about Cam Thomas. It's all the players on the roster. To CJ's point, like, Who's getting better year after year, bro? Cam Thomas got better. Some players are regressing. Some players are not getting better. Keon Johnson got better. I'm not saying he should be on a roster, rotation, whatever. I'm just saying if you're watching the games, you can see what player got better and what player didn't. And it's fair to say that Cam Thomas got better. I'm not talking about a player that regressed. Yeah, you could mention his health, but he didn't regress. He got better, bro. That's what I'm saying.
I think his playmaking took a lot of leaps in a small sample size, especially towards the end. I was glad to see him dishing out the ball and just being more of a commander out there. Like, you want to see that. That's two-way ability with Cam Thomas. He's not a point guard, but you saw him make some type of playmaking, appearances the last, few games before he was out the rest of the season. But you want to see that more consistently. So he doesn't have to be the point guard on most nights, but besides scoring really well, just find your teammates best you can for shots. But to unpopular sports opinion, I have a few questions for you about Noah Clowney and Whitehead. With Clowney specifically, we saw last year the three-point shot came out, but everything else, defense, rebounding, all those other intangibles you thought you were going to see in a second-year leap, you didn't see from Noah Clowney. So do you think Noah Clowney could be eventually a two-way guy, or that's not the case? And with Whitehead, does he have a future with the Brooklyn Nets, or is he just a potential light trade piece down the line? What are your thoughts on those two guys and their futures?
Yeah, I don't know what they're doing with Whitehead. I mean, we haven't seen a lot of him. But with Clowney, I did think he would kind of be a better version of Claxton. But, I mean, I would still keep him on the roster. But I wouldn't necessarily count on him to develop into that type of player as of right now, What the Brooklyn Nets need to do more than anything is create competition on their roster, which is going to push other guys to get better. So if you see another guy come in that's got your skill set and you okay, now I got to work on my jump shot. I got to get better because this dude might take my roster spot. And I think that's what they've kind of created that. But some of these guys got little different skill sets when you're talking about Day'Ron Sharp, Noah Clowney, Whitehead, Nick Claxton, some of these other cats, man. But what they really need to do, is start to go for more of those two-way players to where, okay, this guy can play on both ends of the court. So you got to work on your defense, or you got to work on your offense, Nick Claxton, or you got to work on your defense, Cam Thomas. So it's going to push everybody else on the roster to be better anyway.
Right.
But with those two players, man, I don't think the Nets have the answer in any of those guys. I think they're role players at best.
That's interesting. I think for Clowney, I want to see more defense next year. I think it was great. The three-point shot took some leaps. We were talking about bigs on this team should be able to shoot threes and knock them down because that's what the league is becoming. But I think for Clowney, you got to put it all together. I think this third year is super important for him. Like you said, competition could either create a better version of you or it could set you back as far as the pecking order goes. So I hope from Clowney, as far as two-way goes, defense, I want to see it, and I want to see the offense translate more. I want to see maybe develop a midi of some sort. With Whitehead, I think he's on the bubble. You got to be healthy. You got to come to training camp ready because you talk about maybe Fears starting off the bench. Now he's going to be starting, and Whitehead's got to hope he plays off the bench. If I don't see Whitehead playing main minutes in spring training this summer or like playing off the bench to start the season, I think he's potentially out the door for the Nets, especially if, let's say, the Nets get another guard later in the draft like a Traore. It's going to be hard to see Whitehead crack those minutes, but I think Clowney has more of a shot to break through than Whitehead at this point.
Yeah, I agree with that, man, because I would definitely hold on to Clowney, especially if you're talking about, moving on from Nick Claxton. So,
right.
Hold on, y'all. I gotta say, Nets fans is the best fan. Shout out to CJ for joining the panel. Shout out to everything Brooklyn Nets.
Appreciate you, King Ribby, too, man. Appreciate you, bro.
Yeah, shout out to King Ribby. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to the whole chat. Kurt the Flirt, Tony Tom, Big Dog Hunting. Shout out to everything Brooklyn Nets. John, CJ, Sports, myself. You know what I'm saying? Tap that like button, subscribe. We on our way to 1,000. What if I got 1,000 tonight? Because I'm going to the draft. You know what I'm saying? Trying to get to 1,000. You know what I'm saying? If y'all going live, holla at Big Fan Breezy. Tag me on YouTube or Twitter. Jump in your chat at the draft. I'm out here, man. Nets fans is the best fans. We're gonna be back with more content really soon. You know what I'm saying? Thank you, y'all. And it's Brooklyn. You know what I mean? We spread love the Brooklyn way. You know what I'm saying? Peace, y'all.
Let's go, Brooklyn.